You rang? Oh yes, that's right. You have summoned me. I am relevant in your life. You need me in your life, and I'm happy and honored to be in your life. I do want to check out a few comments on a video I made that I think is challenging to the viewer to really help you yourself put things in perspective. And it was a video I made called Q&A, Is Hair Loss Your Enemy? If not, what actually is? So I want to check out some comments to that. Here's the first one I saw from Stormy Ascent. It says, quote, I feel like the enemy for me is the uncertainty. Will my diffuse thinning progress enough that I need to start buzzing the hair off or not? In and of itself, I don't think baldness is that bad. It's the uncertain perception of my future self that bothers me slightly. The process of balding has to be so painfully slow, and the destination is unknown. Waiting for something bad to happen can make it so much worse. Imagine being a death row inmate waiting a year or several years to die. I'd rather just be done with it, end quote. And that's funny because Stormy Ascent, if you're a Metallica fan, then you can imagine that I'm immediately thinking about the song Ride the Lightning from 1984 from that album, because it talks about that exact thing. Let's just get this thing over with. So I think that's a very good point. I think the uncertainty, and that can go for any man at any age. I mean, there are men who, I know someone who had perfect juvenile, even I'd say either Norwood 1 or almost juvenile, because he definitely has a low forehead. I knew him in his 30s, and it wasn't until his like mid 40s then he started getting diffuse thinning all of a sudden. So none of us really can know for sure. I've got lots of theories, to help us predict this, but I think that's a very good point. The uncertainty of it can be the biggest enemy, since there's really no way knowing for sure. Again, my theories are just ways to predict and help guide us, but we can't know for sure. And I think this brings out a good point, that perhaps many of us are overcoming that uncertainty of when we'll go bald more than we are going bald, because he basically said it only slightly bothers him about losing his hair, but the uncertainty is the issue. I always talk about how as you are in the balding process, it's a matter of reinventing yourself to move forward with your body changing. Well, what if you're just hanging out on Norwood 2.5-ish for a long time, especially if you're in your early 20s and you hit that, let's say 24, you're Norwood 2.5. I was Norwood 2, but let's say you were. There's a lot more uncertainty for someone who obviously is younger, and that's a lot more pressure. And I think still though, the fundamental issue is, it's a matter of accepting that and being ready for it, just like I'm in my mind already in Norwood 4, even though I'm not. So I think that's a very intelligent, mature answer, and I think there for our friend Stormy, I think it shows he's very healthy on his hair loss journey to be able to admit that, to be able to think, you know what, it's not my fear of even balding. He says, I don't think the baldness is that bad. It's the uncertain perception of my future self that bothers me slightly. The fact that he's even recognizing that it's even just a slight minor problem, but still there's that anticipation, that's a very mature perspective. So I just want to applaud you there, Stormy. I think you are a role model for a lot of people watching this video. And I hope other people can get to the point where you are. And it's all about a journey of this hair loss and all about this acceptance and psychologically unpacking this thing. You're doing a great job, and this is me applauding you there. Thanks for sharing.